right, so get ready, because today we're going deep into this whole world of nonverbal communication.
Oh, I love this stuff.
Yeah, me too. It's so fascinating.
It is.
We're going to be looking at this excerpt from How to Read Other People's Minds, Observation Techniques. And honestly, this, you walk away from this, you've got some skills to really understand what people are actually thinking and feeling, not just what they're saying.
It's like a secret decoder ring.
Yeah, exactly. And so to kind of kick things off, this source starts with this story about a young traveler who wants to learn how to read people. And he goes to this wise old sage in a village, right? But instead of just giving him a lecture, Sage is like, come on, let's walk through the marketplace.
Oh, interesting.
Which I think is so cool because it's all about learning by doing,
Experiential learning. You can't just read about it. You got to get out there and see it.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of observation, the source jumps right into the power of the eyes.
Ah, yes.
I mean, that we've all heard the eyes are the window to the soul.
Of course.
But this excerpt actually breaks down why that is. And
I like that.
It even quotes Denzel Washington, who said,
oh, cool.
If you watch a person's eyes, they will always tell the truth.
I love that.
Isn't that good?
It's so true. Our eyes betray us, even when we're trying to keep a poker face.
All the time. Yeah, and so, think about it. If somebody's excited, their pupils dilate.
Exactly.
Or if they're feeling uncomfortable or trying to hide something, their eyes dart around, or they won't even make eye contact.
Yeah, you can practically see the wheels turning in their head as they're trying to come up with a story.
You know what's really crazy?
What?
The source even gets into which way somebody looks.
Oh, wow.
When they're remembering something, can tell you if they're telling the truth or maybe stretching it a little bit.
Now that's fascinating.
Right.
I didn't know that.
So apparently when people look up and to their right, they're usually accessing that part of their brain. That's all about imagination.
So they're making stuff up.
Yeah, they might be creating a story. They might even be,
straight up lying.
Yeah, but then when they look up and to the left, that's when they're usually tapping into real memories.
Oh, so their eyes are literally giving you a glimpse into their thought process.
I know, it's wild, right?
That's amazing.
But I have to ask, is it risky to jump to conclusions based on just one thing? What if someone's just looking around because they're bored, not because they're lying?
You're totally right. The source stresses that it's not about focusing on just one gesture.
Yeah.
It's about seeing the whole picture, all the signals they're giving off in context. It's like being a detective, piecing together the clues.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So we've covered eyes, but what about the rest of the face? I mean, even with a mask on, you can still often get a feel for someone's emotions.
Absolutely. It's like those emojis we use, even with just a few lines for eyebrows and eyes.
Right.
It can convey so much.
Yeah.
The source points out that those are the key areas, the eyebrows, the forehead, and the mouth, raised eyebrows that can signal surprise.
Yeah.
Or even skepticism, whereas furrowed brows usually means worry or concentration.
Oh, and it gets me every time.
What's that?
Forehead wrinkles when you're stressed.
Oh, yeah.
It's no matter how hard you try to keep it cool,
they just pop up.
They just show up.
They're a dead giveaway.
Totally. And of course, we can't forget about the mouth.
Of course not.
It's not just about smiles, right? A little smirk could mean hidden amusement, maybe even arrogance.
Right.
And pursed lips.
Ooh, yes.
Often mean disagreement or tension, even if they're nodding along politely.
It's like our faces are these constant micro-message broadcasters, whether we realize it or not.
I know, so much going on.
It's a lot to take in.
But what about the rest of the body?
Right. Body language, that's a whole other language to decode.
It is. It feels very complex.
It is.
The source quotes Brian Tracy here, who said, "Your body speaks so loudly that people can hardly hear what you're saying."
Oh, I love that quote.
So true.
It's so true. Crossed arms, that's classic defensiveness or resistance.
Yeah.
But it could also just mean they're cold.
Right. How do we know?
Context is everything.
So how do we tell the difference? What else should we be looking out for?
Well, let's go back to that young traveler in the marketplace.
Okay.
Let's say he's checking out a merchant. If the merchant's tapping their fingers rapidly, that could be nervousness, impatience. Maybe they're trying to rush him into a decision.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So he's got to pay attention not just to the words, but to how their body's reacting.
Right. Got it.
Another giveaway, neck rubbing.
Oh, yeah.
People do that when they're uncomfortable or stressed. It's a way to self-soothe.
Okay. Yeah, I do that.
We all have our tells.
I'm starting to see how it all fits together.
Right. It's fascinating.
But it does seem like it could get a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Trying to analyze every little thing.
It can be.
Is there a way to make it feel less clinical?
You know, that's where this idea of mirroring comes in.
Mirroring, okay.
Now, this isn't about copying their every move like a creep.
Right.
It's about subtly matching their tone, their posture, maybe a gesture or two.
Okay.
To build that connection and trust.
So, like, if the merchant's leaning forward, the traveler might subtly lean in too.
Exactly.
But not in a weird way.
Right. It's got to be natural.
Just showing he's engaged.
It taps into that instinct we have to feel more comfortable around people who are like us.
Okay.
Makes the conversation smoother. You build rapport quicker.
That's pretty cool, but you've got to be genuine, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If you're just, like, mimicking someone like a robot.
Yeah, they'll see right through it.
Yeah, it'll backfire.
Totally.
So it's all about being subtle, being authentic.
It's a delicate dance.
And this is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
We also got to factor in tone of voice.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
100%.
So a trembling voice, that can be a dead giveaway for nerves.
Yeah, or if someone's speaking really fast, that could be excitement or it could be anxiety, you know?
Right.
Whereas slow, deliberate speech, that often signals thoughtfulness, caution.
Oh, I see.
It's another layer of meaning on top of the words themselves.
Okay, so now I'm thinking back to our young traveler.
Yeah.
How is he supposed to keep track of all of this?
It's a lot.
The eyes, the face, the body, the tone. It seems like a lot to process, especially all at once.
It is, and that's where the real learning happens, you know? Remember, the sage didn't just hand him a textbook.
Yeah.
He threw him into the deep end.
He did.
To observe, to apply what he was learning.
So learn by doing.
Exactly.
So it's about becoming more aware of those subtle signals.
Yeah.
And then interpreting them in context. Kind of like learning a new language, right?
Yeah.
You start with the basics.
I love that analogy.
And then you build up your vocabulary.
And eventually you become fluent.
Yeah.
You start to see the patterns, you develop a sixth sense.
So what happens next with our young traveler? Does he actually put all of this into practice?
He does.
Okay, tell me.
According to the source, he spends weeks practicing in the marketplace.
Oh, wow.
Watching people, listening to their words, their tone, noticing every gesture.
Okay.
And then one day, he meets this merchant who's trying to sell him a supposedly rare gemstone.
Ooh, this is where it gets good.
This is the test.
So now he's putting everything to the test.
Exactly.
Okay.
This merchant is smooth-talking, charismatic.
Yeah.
But the traveler starts to notice some things don't quite add up.
What kind of things? Give me an example.
Well, the merchant's going on about how valuable this gemstone is.
Okay.
But his fingers are drumming nervously on the counter. That's anxiety, maybe even deception.
Right, so the traveler's picking up on that.
He is. What else? Oh, the merchant keeps saying what a bargain the traveler's getting. Yeah. But the smile doesn't reach his eyes.
Oh.
You know that forced smile we talked about?
I do, yeah.
And to make things even more suspicious, the traveler notices the merchant's gaze keeps flicking towards the exit.
Ooh, so he's looking for an escape route.
It seems that way.
In case the traveler catches on.
Exactly.
So the traveler is picking up on all these little cues.
He is. He's putting those observation skills to work.
And this is after weeks of practice.
It all starts to click.
I bet he's feeling pretty good about himself.
I'm sure he is.
So he realizes the deal is probably too good to be true.
Right.
And walks away.
He does.
Awesome.
It's a perfect example of how understanding nonverbal communication can empower you.
Yeah.
It's not about being suspicious of everyone. It's about having that awareness.
Okay.
To read between the lines.
It's like having a secret weapon.
It kind of is.
So we've talked about the eyes, the face, body language, tone of voice, even mirroring.
A lot of information.
What comes next in the source?
Oh, things get even more interesting.
Really?
We get into the world of microexpressions.
Microexpressions, okay.
Those fleeting facial expressions that can reveal someone's true emotions.
So like, even when they're trying to hide them.
Even then.
Now those sound super hard to catch.
Yeah, they're super quick.
How are we supposed to spot something that lasts for like a fraction of a second?
It's a challenge, but it's a skill you can develop with practice.
Okay.
And the source actually gives some tips on how to train yourself to see them.
I am definitely interested in this.
So you might see a flash of sadness in someone's eyes.
Okay.
Even though they're saying they're happy.
Right.
Or a quick burst of anger despite calm words.
Wow.
It's like a glimpse into their subconscious, you know?
It's pretty amazing.
A moment of honesty breaking through.
I'm kind of blown away by how much information we give away even when we try not to.
It's a lot, right?
But I have to admit, I am feeling a little overwhelmed.
Don't worry, it'll become more natural the more you practice.
That's good to know.
That's what makes this deep dive so valuable. It's about more than just tips.
Right.
It's about seeing the world in a new way.
Okay.
Understanding the people around you.
I'm ready for more. Let's keep going.
Let's do it.
I can't wait to see what else this source has in store.
Well, next up, we're going to explore how all of these techniques can be used to build stronger relationships, not just spot deception.
Okay.
Because remember, the goal isn't to become paranoid, it's to enhance our understanding of human behavior and use that knowledge to connect with others on a deeper level.
I love that. That sounds incredible.
It is.
Can't wait to learn more.
Me too. So we've been talking about how these nonverbal cues can be like red flags, right?
Yeah, like spotting when something's off or maybe someone's not being totally straight with you.
Exactly, but the source actually goes beyond that. It's not just about like busting liars. It's about becoming a more empathetic communicator.
Oh, interesting. So how do those skills translate into like actually building better relationships?
Well, imagine you can really understand your partner's unspoken emotions.
Like you could just tell they had a rough day even if they don't say anything.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or knowing when a friend needs support even if they're not like directly asking for it.
That's powerful.
By paying attention to their nonverbals, you can pick up on those subtle signs of stress, sadness, even joy that they might not be putting into words.
So it's like adding this whole other layer of understanding.
Right.
You're not just hearing their words, but like tuning into the emotional subtext.
Exactly. It's about reading between the lines, and that can make a huge difference in how we connect with people.
Okay, so let's say I want to start applying these techniques. Where do I even begin?
Well, the source recommends becoming more mindful of your own nonverbal cues first.
Oh, that's interesting. So before I try to decode other people, I need to understand my own signals.
Exactly. Pay attention to how your body language and tone of voice change in different situations. What happens when you're stressed, happy, even bored?
Okay.
Do you cross your arms, fidget, avoid eye contact?
It's like holding up a mirror, right?
It is. Becoming aware of the messages we're sending out, even unconsciously.
So once I understand my own patterns,
then you can start observing others.
Okay.
Pay attention to their eyes, their face, their posture, their gestures.
Don't try to analyze everything at once, though, right?
Right. Just start noticing, see if you can pick up on any patterns.
So it's like learning a new language again.
It is.
Start with the basics.
And gradually build your fluency.
Okay, but what about overanalyzing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, how do I avoid becoming super suspicious of every little thing?
The source stresses that context is key.
Right.
Crossed arms don't always mean defensiveness. They could just be cold.
Right.
Or maybe they just find that position comfortable.
So it's not about jumping to conclusions.
No.
But more like gathering information, looking at the bigger picture.
And maybe even asking clarifying questions if you're not sure.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It's about using these skills for understanding, not judging or manipulating.
So as I practice, I'll start to develop a more intuitive sense of what things mean.
Exactly. You'll become more attuned to those signals, even if you can't explain why.
That's cool, but also a little intimidating.
It is a lot to take in.
What if I'm just not good at this?
Anyone can learn this. It just takes practice and paying attention.
Great.
Remember that traveler?
Yeah.
He wasn't born with some special ability. He learned it.
So you're saying I don't have to be a mind reader?
Not at all. It's a skill, not a superpower.
But it's a skill that can have a big impact.
Absolutely. Both personally and professionally.
Okay, I'm seeing that. Like, imagine navigating tough conversations better, building stronger relationships, even understanding yourself better.
Exactly. And as you practice, you might find even more applications we haven't even thought of.
So, big picture. What's the main takeaway here?
The biggest takeaway is that understanding nonverbal communication isn't just about catching someone in a lie. It's about becoming a more aware, more empathetic, and more effective communicator overall.
It's about connection.
It is.
Okay, I like that. But going back to our traveler.
Yeah.
I gotta know, what happened to him after he walked away from that gemstone deal?
Well, the source leaves us with a cliffhanger.
Oh, no.
It poses a final question.
Okay, hit me with it.
What if we took all these techniques and turned them inward?
Ooh.
What if we paid as much attention to our own nonverbal cues as we do to everyone else's?
That's deep.
It's like becoming our own detective.
Right.
Analyzing every gesture, every expression.
Trying to figure out what's really going on.
Exactly. And who knows what we might find?
It's fascinating.
Maybe by understanding our own nonverbal language better, we'll understand everyone else even better too.
I love that idea. It's like the ultimate self-awareness challenge. And I'm already thinking about my own, nervous habits and what they might be saying.
It's amazing what we can learn just by paying attention.
So to wrap things up, what's the best way for people to start putting all this into practice?
Start by observing yourself in different situations. Notice how your body language changes, your tone of voice, depending on who you're with, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Then start paying attention to those same cues in other people.
Got it.
Don't overthink it. Just observe. It's a journey, not a destination.
Great advice, and I think a perfect note to end on. So to all our listeners out there,
yes.
Happy observing.
Happy observing.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time in this deep dive talking about how to read other people.
Yeah, all those little clues and signals they're giving off.
But now we're flipping the script.
Turning the lens inward.
Exactly, we're looking at ourselves.
Introspection time.
Because if we can learn so much from observing other people's nonverbals, what about our own?
Right. The source really emphasizes this, it's a whole new level of self-awareness.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Imagine you notice that you always clench your jaw when you're stressed, even before you consciously realize you're feeling that way.
Oh, interesting.
It's like those cues become early warning signs.
I see, so you can catch it before it escalates.
Exactly. You can manage your emotions better, maybe avoid a conflict.
It's like you're getting this heads up.
Yeah, instead of just reacting, you can pause and say, wait, what's going on here? What's my body trying to tell me?
I'm realizing there's this whole internal dialogue happening that we often just tune out.
We're so focused on what everyone else is thinking or feeling that we miss our own signals.
It's true. We do that all the time.
It's like we have this amazing communication system built right into us, but we're only using 10% of it.
So how do we start tapping into that other 90%?
Well, the source doesn't give a step-by-step guide.
Okay.
But I think it encourages a playful curiosity.
Okay.
Start by noticing little habits you might not have thought about before.
Like what kind of habits?
Maybe you always twirl your hair when you're bored in meetings.
Oh, yeah.
But you've never really asked yourself why you do that.
It's so true. We just do things without thinking.
And once you start paying attention, you might find some interesting connections.
Like what?
You might realize you cross your arms every time a certain coworker walks into the room. And that could mean you're actually feeling intimidated by them, even if you didn't realize it consciously.
Wow, so it's like becoming your own case study.
Yeah.
Observing yourself and then trying to figure out what it all means.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the more attuned you'll become to those subtle shifts in your body language, your tone of voice.
It's pretty powerful.
You might even start to predict how you'll react in certain situations.
That's amazing. It's like a superpower.
But instead of reading other people's minds, you're reading your own.
And maybe, like you said before, understanding ourselves better helps us understand other people better too.
It's all connected.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the challenge is to pay attention not only to everyone around us, but also to ourselves.
Notice those little things, the subtle changes in your expression, your tone.
Because those details can tell us so much.
They really can.
It's like a whole hidden language waiting to be decoded.
And it can help us build better relationships, navigate tough situations, just live a more authentic life overall.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
So to all our listeners out there, happy observing both within and around you.
Absolutely happy observing.